Nice win.
They sure did.
Good for them.
2 in a row.
Yes, it is.
Oh, how was Horace?
203 yards, 20 carries, 82 on one run. But really, I know it sounds crazy, but if you take away the 82-yard run, I thought Van did a decent job on him.
Was he good though?
He was good.
Okay. What about, was it the guy from Lindale that had a good running back in Lindale? Or?
Lindale has a good running back, but he wasn't near as effective as this kid was from
The Horace kid?
the Horse kid.
I have
The
heard
Horse kid
stories.
should have been credited with another fumble. We'll talk about that later.
All right.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Hump Day Huddle, your number one source for football information in Van Zandt County. I'm David Barber, Van Zandt News sports correspondent. Pleased to be joined as always by T.A. Hale from the Buzz Brothers, the counselor Joel Elliott, engineer Ken, and the mayor and Queen Bee, Lou Ann Everett.
Hello.
Welcome one and all.
Good to be here.
Good to see everyone here tonight. We have a lot of exciting football action to talk about. We finally get to talk about a winning week in
Yes, we
Van Zandt
do.
County.
Yes, we do.
That was good to see.
Made a little progress last week. Had 2 wins last week.
Right.
This week, even better.
Even better. And we had some exciting action. But I don't know if we had more excitement than what we had in Grant Saline last Friday night. Their district opener. Grant Saline looking for not only their first district win, but their first win overall. And a tremendous fourth quarter comeback by the Indians. They defeated Winona by the final score of 36-32. Joel, before I turn it over to you, I will tell you I was on another radio program last night, and Coach Drennan was on. And listening to him speak last night, I don't know if he was more excited or just relieved with the fact that they got win number 1. But what a tremendous comeback victory for the Indians.
I can tell by Joel's demeanor that this former Grand Saline Indian is very excited about this. And
My food tasted better today.
as it should be. As it should be.
Okay. My intention Friday night was to go watch Grant Saline take what I thought would probably be a pretty easy win. And once they got ahead, then I was going to literally make my trip down the road and bounce and hit Fruitvale, Edgewood, and Wills Point.
That's impressive.
I'd never done anything like that. Get to Grant Saline. My buddy's daughter's in the band. It's not going well at halftime. So I said after halftime I'll watch one series, then I'm going to go. And it looked like it was going to get better, and it started slowly getting better. And it was 14-32. And I said I'm going to give them one more drive, and then I'm out of here. And then it got awesome. It was just absolutely insane, the comeback that they had.
Okay, down 14-32.
14-32
in the third quarter.
I believe it was
Something like that.
It may have been at the start of the fourth quarter. I know Grant Saline had a pretty good third quarter, but the fourth quarter it just kept going, and everything just went their way. And it was one of the, I talked to Michael Lewis then. He was with Coach Drennan. And David, I may have you even add to it if you probably got a better interview with Coach than I did. But just from my perception sitting there, a lot of times in the second half when you're down by more than 2 scores, people start getting up and leaving. And there were a few, but for the most part, everybody was there, stuck with it. And if you left early, you missed it. And it was incredible. And I'll tell you, it's what I found out in firsthand, in person, and saw on my own. Grant Saline is young, and they had originally had 3 really good running backs, and the only one that's left is the Jimenez kid, number 4, and he is just a pinball. He's not very big. I don't know what his weight is. I think he's about 5'8", and he might weigh 150 pounds. He is as tough as a boot. I mean, he got hit, he got knocked around, and he would pop back up and just keep on. There's times that he would get hit, and I think he would be hurt, and the kid that would hit him would get hurt.
He was splitting carries last year. Like you said,
Yes.
that position seemed like a strength of theirs. And then all of a sudden it's really just him.
It's just him
carrying the load.
And now Jace Melton, and I'll tell you, this is his 3rd year as a starter. Now, I don't know if did y'all watch Mineola a few years ago when they won state 4 or 5 years ago. The quarterback goes to the sideline between every single play to get the play. If I was Jace Melton, I would renegotiate that contract.
I forgot about that.
Because Jace he's a big kid.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not your little string bean quarterback that's going to run back and forth to the sideline. He looks like a linebacker. He only plays quarterback and punts, but he looks like a linebacker. But every play he was going back and forth to the sideline. He had a pretty good night too. He was 16 for 29. I knew he had 4 touchdowns. I didn't realize he only had 1 interception because it seemed like things were going worse than what it looks like here on paper in the early stages of the game.
Yeah.
But they never slowed down. And I'll tell you, the Kendall kid, he's a sophomore. His uncle and his brother were in high school with me, and if they're listening, I don't care. He's better than they were.
Just tell the truth.
There was one catch that he had, and he was trapped in, and it wasn't a fast-moving play, and it was almost like he was down, and then it just out of the pack, he popped out and kept on going. He scored 2 touchdowns. He's a baller. Canton or Grand Saline has a good future coming up. You know, and installing the new system and everything, there was a lot of things that went positive for them on Friday night. And I think truly what they did, you know, in the last quarter and a half of the game, that's what they can do. They sputtered throughout the first part of the game, and there were miscues, and you know, any game you win, you hate to have to say anything about the refs, but you know, Mike Lewis and I were talking in the stands, and he's like, "Am I the only one seeing that?" And I'm like, "No, I think we're all seeing it." It was
things happen.
It was some close calls that I say close. There were some calls that were made that didn't look that close, but
you
they
can
were,
just be plain, Joel. Just say it right here.
It
We're on the
wasn't.
Bay Huddle.
It was a bad night for the stripey guys, as Maloof calls them.
Yeah.
Gee, I think I might know of another game where that happened.
So
That's right.
So, but once the kids got that ball rolling, you know, it's one of those things where as soon as they scored that first touchdown and got back to 21, it was 21-32. The sense in the stadium, at least on the home side and on the sideline, you could just see it. They weren't really behind anymore. The momentum had shifted, and you know, Winona was wanting to just get out of the stadium as fast as they could, and they couldn't get out fast enough, and it turned around there at the end. It was really good.
That's interesting. If you think about it, you know, Chase Melton and the Jimenez kid, those kids have known winning. They have experienced success. And so I'm sure when that started happening, that did not feel unfamiliar. And it kind of started going their way at home. You weren't going to get it away from them probably.
And you mentioned the crowd. I know Coach Drennan last night was pointing out the fact how much the crowd was helping the team in their rally. They got behind the team and were really making a lot of noise, and the team fed off of that. And, you know, they were down, was it 32-14?
32-14.
Came back, scored the final 22 points of the game.
Wow.
To win 36-32.
And they, you know, and it's one of those things where I'm sure there's a chart somewhere that coaches carry around as to when you go for 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the chart says, but Drennan did it right. He went for 2 on the right one, got it, and everything just worked perfect. But, you know, and I will say this for Grant Saline and their band and their cheerleaders, when it's time to let people concentrate, they're not making a lot of noise. When it's time to get loud because the other team has the ball, they're getting loud. It really was.
It's a football savvy crowd
It was.
in town there.
It was. So
they understand it.
It was a good night. Some of the other stats: Cooper Brown, linebacker, had 11 tackles. You know, like I said, the Kendall kid Brett Kendall had 7 catches, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jimmy has 30 carries, 223 yards, and a touchdown. 3 catches for 42 yards. And on the defensive side, I think he's playing safety, but he come up and made some pretty big hits for a small guy. And I will tell you, Winona, and if you're from Grand Saline and listening, you know I'm telling the truth, Winona was faster than Grand Saline.
They're always athletic.
And when there were a couple of plays, if Winona got behind Grand Saline, they were gone,
Mm-hmm.
unless it was a long ball that was overthrown. But if the running back got through the secondary and it was a foot race, it was over with. So they actually did a good job. Once they figured that out, they did a good job staying behind the farthest guy down the field.
Uh-huh.
And for a slow team like I used to be on, when you're in the secondary, one of the things that's drilled in your head is don't get beat deep.
Yeah.
So they turned it around and did real well there in that second half.
Good for them. Good for Coach Drennan. That's you knew
That's
you
a
weren't
great
going to
win.
keep him down forever. He's going to get things turned around there. So what better time to do it at home?
But now moving forward, a great challenge this coming week, going on the road to Harmony.
Harmony, and Harmony was last season. Grant Saline seemed to have all the parts in the right places, and things were going. And I think even Coach Ridge came over and talked to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was 3 games left in the season, and I'm not sure. I think they'd only lost once so far, and they had big plans last year. And I think Harmony was their third from the last game, and that was kind of the stumbling block that caused them to. I think they lost 3 out of their last 4 games.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, Harmony, I think they've lost a couple of games this year, but I think they've lost a good team. So this is going to be a different week than the last.
They're 2-2 this year.
Yeah,
Harmony is.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Found out that Harmony has not lost a district game at home in 5 years.
Whoa.
Ooh.
2015 was their last home loss in district play.
To who? Do you know?
Don't recall.
I wish we knew that.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's they've been good for as long as we've been doing this show.
Yes, they have.
I can recall referencing them when Edgewood had those really good teams back in 2016 and 17, and Harmony just always seems to have the kids. So Grant Saline will have their hands full, but open week last week, and so a win this week. They've gone 2 weeks without a loss.
And I'll tell you the other thing Grant Saline did. You mentioned it last week. They had every single football player on the team suited up on the sideline. And the varsity players had the big GS on the side. The JV players just have black helmets.
Right.
JV players had an orange stripe down the side of their pants. And some of those kids got some playing time.
Right.
Wow.
And there were a couple of sophomores. And I think there was one freshman that was on every – I think he was on every special team. I know he was running down on kickoffs and on kickoff return. So they've still got – I mean, they're valuable.